Today we're going to talk about personal development in care settings. This is a very important area um, for your own development, for your career, um, and for improving the service that you provide. First thing we're going to talk about is understanding what's required for competence in your own role. Within that, we want to be able to describe your duties and responsibilities. Now, duties could be the tasks that you carry out every day. Responsibilities, we could think of more as the larger responsibilities like your health and safety responsibilities. So, for duties, we might think about maybe completing daily living records, preparing meals, administering medication, and completing all the forms that go with that, the MAR sheet. For responsibilities, you might think about, again, health and safety. You have safeguarding responsibilities that we are responsible for reporting any safeguarding concerns. We have data protection responsibilities, so we must maintain confidentiality. We have to work in person-centered ways as well. It means we have to focus on that individual. No two people's care needs and preferences are going to be the same. So all our work has to be individualized. And we have to follow the service users' care plans. You have to keep track. You have to keep your training, skills, and knowledge up to date. So that is what's called continuing professional development, or CPD. And you should do a certain amount of that every year at least. For more information about your own duties and responsibilities in particular, you can have a look at your job description. And I would recommend including a copy of your job description with your portfolio. Okay, your next question would be identify standards, regulatory requirements, and agreed ways of working that could influence your role. Some standards could include the National Occupational Standards, or NOS, you'll see it abbreviated sometimes. A few of them that are particularly relevant to health and social care are support the safeguarding of individuals or contribute to the implementation of care plans or support activities. Now, you can search for the National Occupational Standards on ukstandards.org.uk. You can search for health and social care standards in particular. If you there's a drop down bar. If you use that, you can search particularly for the health and social care standards. And I would recommend having a look. I would especially recommend having a little read of those two that I've mentioned above, so you are familiar with a couple of the National Occupational Standards. Other standards that are really important are the CQC Essential Standards. These are the standards that when inspectors from CQC come out to visit care settings, these are the standards that they're looking at. So they are looking to see if we're working with, if we're carrying out person-centered care and working with person-centered values. They're looking to see that we are providing dignity and respect, that we're obtaining consent for everything we're doing, that we're maintaining a good standard of safety, that there are policies and procedures in place to prevent safeguarding, or to prevent abuse and to enact safeguarding, that food and drink is adequate for service users, that it's of a good nutritional value and that it's available and that it's suitable to their needs. Like if somebody has difficulty swallowing, giving someone a well done steak might not be the best option. Some adjustment would have to be made there. Let's see, premises and equipment, that the premises are safe, that they're suitable for the people that are using it. For complaints, that there are complaints procedures in place. Good governance is similar as well, probably won't be too relevant to you at the moment, but that the planning and the records are accurate, that the management is good. Staffing, that there's enough staff, fit and proper staff, again, that staff are trained, suitable, have had their DBSs done and up to date. Duty of candor means being truthful. So if mistakes happen, they're addressed straight away. And display of ratings. So when CQC gives the rating, it should be displayed somewhere easy for people to see. For regulatory requirements, this means any laws, regulations, or statutory guidance. Statutory guidance is usually based on the laws and it gives a bit more information, but it is legally binding and we have to follow it. So this could be to do with, like I said, any law or regulation, like the Health and Safety at Work Act. This says that everybody is entitled to a safe working environment, that employers must provide free PPE. It has regulations in there on manual handling. It's a very key act for us. We have the Equality Act as well, that we can't discriminate. RIDOR is the reporting of injuries, diseases, and dangerous occurrences regulation. So at work, you should either have an accident book that you can fill in if an accident or near miss occurs, or if there's a lot of places have moved on to online reporting now. So there should be a clear way of reporting that for RIDOR. COSH is control of substances hazardous to health, or that are hazardous to health. So anything like bleach, medication, any other substances that could be harmful either immediately or in the long term would be covered by COSH. Now for medication, or let's just say for medication, that means that it should be stored in a locked cupboard. So nobody could accidentally take it without meaning to. For, let's say, bleaches, ideally they're stored in a locked cupboard. Not everybody does this in home settings because people will be cleaning their own flats. Maybe if it's supported living, people often clean their own flats, so they might just have it in a cupboard. But it should be in a specific place away from food, just to make sure it's safe. It depends on the substance that we're talking about in particular, and you would, depending on what the substance is, you will put in different safeguards, but we should consider what substances might be harmful and what we might do about it. Next job is agreed ways of working. Now, for the agreed ways of working, you will want to explain what that agreed ways of working is. You won't just want to say health and safety. That won't cover the answer to the question. So their agreed ways of working are the company's procedures for doing everything. So if we took a lone working policy, if you are doing domiciliary care, if you're doing home care support visits, then in those cases, you usually, when you arrive at the property, you would probably sign in by phone or on a smartphone app to let people at the office know that you've arrived. And when you're leaving as well, you sign out. That would be the procedures there. Some places, some organizations have procedures that you'd never work out in the community alone, that you'd always have to have somebody with you. Let's say if it's medication procedures that we're talking about, or your medication agreed ways of working, this could be how you fill out the MAR sheet. It could be whether you're supporting individuals to take their own medication or whether you are administering it. For security procedures, most places have very similar security procedures. They could be when somebody arrives, that you check a visitor, that you check their ID, that you would have them sign in the visitor's book, and whether or not they have to be escorted when they're on premises at all times or not. For infection control agreed ways of working, this will be using the correct hand washing procedures, hand gels, sanitization gels, It will be when you wear PPE, so gloves, what situations do you need to wear gloves in? These are all your agreed ways of working, and they have a big influence on your role. They are what we do throughout the day. Okay, so when you're answering the question, give a few of, at least 3 of your own agreed ways of working. Next question. How can you ensure that your own personal values, attitudes, or beliefs do not obstruct the quality of work and working practice? Now, this can be a very difficult one for people to do in their daily lives because it's very hard to actually be aware of your own values, attitudes, and beliefs and biases. Your values, attitudes, and beliefs could lead to biases, and you don't want that to affect the way you're working and the care you're giving. So, as much as you can, be aware of yourself. It's important to be non-judgmental. People can make choices that we disagree with. The individuals we work with have a right to make any choice that they want, within reason. And even if we think it's odd or it's not the best choice for them, we have to respect that. So, as long as it's not a safeguarding issue, we have to respect the choices they want. Under the Mental Capacity Act 2005, people have a right to make what they might call eccentric choices. And that's fine. We don't have to agree on everything. So, another one would be working with person-centered values, that as we're going along throughout our day and with any of the work we do with individuals, we make sure that we are working with person-centered values, that we are treating that person as an individual and recognizing that what they want will not be the same as what we want or believe, or what any of our other clients want or believe. We have to work in the best interest of that individual. So again, it's not what we think would be best for us, it's what's best for them and what they want in their goals. I think working in evidence-based ways is very important. So that comes back to being aware of your values, attitudes, beliefs, and biases. Just because we believe something is good for us does not necessarily mean that something is actually good for us and that we should be like informing service users of these things like they're facts. And we should look it up, see if we can actually find some evidence for our beliefs or something against it. If there's something against what we've believed all along, that's good. We've learned something new. Again, respecting an individual's preferences, wishes, and choices. That is part of working in person-centered ways of treating people equally and with dignity and respect. Oh, there's a spelling mistake there. Sorry. Carrying out your own research or participating in training, I would recommend Mental Capacity Act training. So, for this, if you have any of your own ideas, include them as well. These are some ideas to get you started. And thank you for listening or watching.